Holly, you had a really fascinating interview with someone who knows that area so well, where it's believed this plane went down, a local mountain guide in the French Alps. What did he tell you?
Well, he basically described the terrain. He said the reported crash site would be inaccessible to emergency vehicles, that the only way to get there would be to chopper rescue officials and rescue workers in. So this makes it complicates the situation quite a bit, because he said that a low cloud formation is sort of enveloping that mountainous area where we believe the plane went down. He has eyes on choppers, he was telling me just a few minutes ago, that are military helicopters, police helicopters, fire department helicopters as well. He said he'd witnessed at least a dozen of them. He said that shortly before the reported time of the crash, that he heard a plane fly at very low altitude, that this was unusual in the part of France that he operates in. He's a mountain guide. He's very familiar with this terrain. He was telling me essentially that it's not very far from Nice. People familiar with the geography of France, Nice is in the south of France, that this is about 80 kilometers, but this is the first mountainous plateau in France after Provence. So this is an area that, although it's not very far from a highly populated big city like Nice, it is still very difficult to access on foot, and it is virtually impossible to get there with any kind of ground vehicle. You would really have to fly in.
And it's so interesting. I mean, there's no suggestion at this point, of course, this early on, that weather was a factor in what happened to the crash. But what more did the guide say about whether was it bad at the time, or is it just about to become challenging weather conditions for the searchers?
Well, from everything we're hearing, it wasn't bad at the time, but it was getting worse, and it was complicating the rescue effort when it comes to the choppers and the helicopters trying to fly in. Because it's at high altitude, and because this cloud formation was making it very difficult to have good visibility in order to access the site and not put any of those flying the helicopters and their crew and the rescue workers in danger. And also, he added, Kate, that tomorrow's weather forecast is bad. So you can imagine that just today, and in a few hours, it's going to start getting dark. And tomorrow, if the weather conditions aren't favorable, it's going to make it all the more complicated to reach the crash site and also retrieve any bodies.